Hi, welcome to IAN's Health Talk with Dr. Akram. I am Akram. In this program, we'll be talking about all kinds of different health issues with different experts in the field. Today, we will be talking about vaccination. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your time with us. The practice of immunization dates back hundreds of years. Buddhist monks drank snake venom to confer immunity to snake bite, and variolation was practiced in 17th century China, where dry powdered smallpox scabs being puffed up one's nose to cause milder form of smallpox and hence to acquire immunity. African-born slave Onesimus advised his master Cotton Mather about variolation, what they did in Africa, showing his scars of inoculation, and that led Zabdiel Boyston, an American physician, to administer first variolation in the US in 1721. Edward Jenner is considered the founder of vaccinology in the West. In 1796, Jenner inoculated 13-year-old James Phipps with vaccinia virus or cowpox and demonstrated immunity to smallpox. In 1798, the first smallpox vaccine was developed. Over the 18th and 19th century, systematic implementation of mass smallpox immunization culminated its global decline. Smallpox, a disease which killed 300 million people in the 20th century alone, being declared eradicated in 1980, thanks to vaccination. Louis Pasteur's experiments spearheaded the development of live attenuated cholera vaccine and inactivated anthrax vaccine in humans. Between 1890 and 1950, bacterial vaccine development proliferated, including the Bacille Calmette-Guerin, the famous BCG vaccination, which is still in use today. But our greatest challenge with microbes not yet to be confirmed. Since late 2019, we've been faced with another stronger pathogen, COVID-19. COVID-19 proved to be more challenging than any other in the past. The vaccine makers all around the world raced to find a solution while the virus kept mutating or changing its profile to decoy the scientists. In August, Vladimir Putin announced about Sputnik V, named after their famous space program, a promising vaccine currently used in Russia. China brought its own vaccine to save its citizens. There are 59 vaccines in the research level in China, but 28 of them are in phase 2 and 3 human trials. In the West, Pfizer, Moderna, and Oxford are about to release their first lot for public use, and a lot more on the research level. But apart from being received multiple jabs in the childhood, what do we know about vaccines? Do we know what it is, how it works, its pros and cons, and how does it save the humanity from the greatest microbial terror of the world? Let's welcome our special guest on the show, Dr. Mohammed Ramali, to learn all about vaccines. Ramali, welcome to the show again.
Thank you, Akram, again. Very happy to be back.
It's nice to see you again. I think we had a great program, isn't it? It was on the respiratory failure.
Yes.
Because you've been treating lots of COVID patients.
That's correct. Yes.
But again, you are here to talk something kind of related to COVID, because we're going to talk about COVID vaccine in the second half of the program.
Yes.
But first half, we're going to explain what is vaccine. People need to know, understand. Okay. In case if anyone hasn't watched our program before, can you explain about you? Who are you?
Okay, so I'm a specialist in intensive care and anesthesia. So although you might be wondering why I'm interested in vaccines. So for any disease, prevention is the best strategy. And I always think of the analog. Consider a football game. You don't want your goalkeeper to be the line of defense all the time. So being intensive care physicians, the journey of a patient, the last destination is intensive care. We try to make them better all the time, but unfortunately some may don't make it. So I've had interest in vaccination for a long time, and I am leading the research, the recovery trial and remap cap in our hospital, and there's tremendous amount of work done behind the scenes by the research people. They work 7 days a week, and can I take this opportunity to give a shout out to my research team?
Of course, yeah, of course.
They've
You could
been
even tell their names.
No, there's a long list. So they've been very helpful. Because of the research we've contributed, we know how to treat the current pandemic better. And personally, I've seen less people coming to ITU this time. So whatever the product of research last time is working. And one more thing, Akram, you always get the timing right. Now, there was a big announcement about this vaccine coming out, and you have a vaccine program. I don't think you know the other significance of today. Today is supposed to be World Pneumonia Day.
World Pneumonia, that's
yes.
amazing.
And 2009, they started having this, and here we go. Thank you very much.
Well, as it's rightly timed, I think I haven't of course planned it. It's just a random selection, and it's turned out to be good. Ramali, it's amazing. That's good. I think anyway, today you are here not to invite people to ITU, and you're going to keep them away. You give vaccine and keep them away.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Okay. Let's talk a little bit. Oh, before that, anyway, guys, this is a live program, so. We usually take calls, but today we have a really busy schedule. We will not take calls during the program, but if anyone wants to call us, you're welcome to call after we finish the program, and we will stay in the studio for a little more time, and we'll take any of your calls and we can answer. But in case if you miss that, you could always follow our Health Talk YouTube channel, or you could write to our healthtalk.intv.co.uk for more information, or if you want to clarify anything. But anyway, keep enjoy watching our program. Thank you very much. Ramali, okay, let's talk. Let's see, generally, even medical people don't understand much about vaccines, because we learn in the medical school, and after that, if you're not in that section, you kind of forget about it. Can you explain in simple terms what is this vaccine about?
Absolutely, Akram. So when people start to go into these minor specialties or super specialties, you are right. Last time we would have heard or studied must have been in medical school. So basically, vaccine is a way of teaching our body to fight against an infection. So two ways one, we get an illness and body will fight against that illness. But the disadvantage is the patient gets sick during that procedure. So that's not the best. So if you can give something or artificially to teach the body's immune system. What I mean by immune system is we have T cells and B cells. They produce antibodies and fight against any infections. So
they are kind of like soldiers, aren't they?
That's exactly right. So, and even they got memory as well. So what the vaccine will teach initially to identify that particular infection or the bug. So the body is ready for the second time when the real infection comes. They will identify those bugs in double quick time, and the response will be even far better. So that's why the vaccine is important to prevent. Good old days, poor mothers didn't. They were anxious whether their children will survive to adolescent or teenagers. So bad, and so we have to be very grateful to the historians. Or the father of vaccine. That's how it started. And now most of these diseases, the current generation even don't know
about it. That's
yeah.
True.
So that's basically the summary of how vaccine works.
That's a very good example. It's something like you have a military unit and you have the soldiers, isn't it? These soldiers are these the
antibodies,
right?
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah.
And the vaccine is something like a decoy enemy you
exactly.
bring in.
Yes.
And so these soldiers get trained for their color, their type, and their shape.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you could bring some normal soldiers and you train these guys to fight against them, you could bring their pictures, or you could bring a part of them, a helmet or a t-shirt or something like that, and the body get used to it. That's simply it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not much science behind it.
But there's so much research going on. You had to. The safety is very important.
Exactly,
so I'm sure we'll be talking about it in more detail.
Okay. Let's go to the history now. Right. Smallpox killed 300 million people in 20th century alone. In 1798, as you said, Edward Jenner found the first vaccine. And let's talk a little bit about smallpox vaccine.
It's fascinating, the history, is because the way it was identified. I think a milkmaid who was distributing milk and got accidentally inoculated by cowpox, and then she didn't get the disease. So then the scientists at that time thought, okay, in that case, the body is able to identify it. So they started inoculating a smallpox. I think it was a teenager or a young boy.
James Phipp. He was 13-year-old.
Yes.
He was Edward Jenner's gardener's son.
Yes. So those days, again, because the researchers were sometimes injecting onto themselves, because the research was at such a primitive stage.
Exactly.
And all the family members. So finally, we are here.
You are true here. The American physician, Zabdiel Boyston, he injected his son as well from first inoculation.
Yeah. So that's fascinating, the history.
It was a bit it was a bit difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
There was a couple of ways, I think. The Chinese, they used to take the scabs from the smallpox healers, and they used to dry it, make a powder, and they had this long blowpipe, so they used to puff it through someone's nose.
Yeah.
And then I was reading about this in the Africa, especially in Sudan. There were some practices were there. It was 2 of them, and what they did is the mother would go to the child, like another family. The child had a smallpox, and they would bid some money to get those infected scabs. So they will put a cloth around the other child's arm, and they will barter. And once the smallpox, the pustules burst, and they will bring it and they will put it on her kids. So they will get a small, easy form of vaccination, or variolation, as they call it.
Yeah, variolation.
And they used to, the other practice was what they started in America, was they used to make 3 scars on the deltoid, like here in this area, and they used to get pustules from someone and get this little bit of pus and put it over there and close it.
Exactly. And look where we are.
And that's what Edward Jenner tried it.
Yeah.
And here we go. Now we have a cleaner form, and we don't take full this antivirus or any bacteria, but we have attenuated, killed form. Anyway, we'll go a bit more detail into next bit. What type of vaccines available?
So from those era, and we have come a long way. So basically, there are 4 types of vaccines available. So when I say vaccine, the one which is inactivated, so you get the virus or the bacteria, you inactivate it, you completely kill it and give it to the patient. So when I say give it to the patient, it's only very minute amount the patient gets it. If you see now on our body, and over here, there'll be lots of bacteria, millions, which we can't see. If you compare with that, it's only a very tiny amount, and that particular amount can be given to about 50,000 people. So that is the inactivated vaccine.
Inactivated vaccine.
So there is no live vaccine or live organism there, no live bug there. And then the other category is you call it attenuated, live attenuated vaccine. So where the virulence or the severity of the disease has been reduced by other methods, like you can radiate, you can put adjuvants. So you reduce it, so it doesn't have the harmful effects, but that is enough for the body to identify it as an enemy and to start acting on it. So that if you compare those two, because this is a live attenuated, the response is better. So it gives longer immunity.
Immunity, that's right.
Yeah, so it's powerful, and as opposed to the inactivated one.
Yeah, because live attenuated, it's still, it looks normal,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
It's got all component of that enemy.
Yes, that's correct.
So that's why, isn't it?
The response is better.
We will, let's play a video. This is about a person who has contracted polio, and he's still been in this iron lung. So because since we are talking about, this is our about vaccine and what he missed, because the vaccine was developed in 1952, and I think about 6 months before he has contracted polio.
I know, I've seen that.
Let's play the video, and let's show them, and he's still living. That's interesting. And thank you for Gizmodo from YouTube. We have taken their video from them.
Cannot move. Period. Well, a lot of humanity knows nothing about polio. They don't even know what it is.
Paul Alexander is a polio survivor who spends nearly all day, every day, inside his iron lung at home in Dallas, Texas. The disease paralyzed Paul from the neck down, so the machine helps him breathe by using negative pressure to force his body to take in air. He was only 6 years old when he caught polio in 1952, one of the worst outbreak years in U.S. history.
When I first contracted polio, I was just a kid like everybody else, but began to feel a little bit ill. When Mom saw my face, she put me immediately to bed. Over the next 5 days, I lost everything. Couldn't move, couldn't walk, and finally, the last day, I couldn't breathe. My diaphragm was gone, destroyed. Like, my muscles were gone, destroyed, which left me in the iron lung for the rest of my life.
Parents were so afraid of the mysterious, deadly disease that they kept their children from playing with others. Pools, theaters, camps, even schools shut down.
Everybody was petrified with the concept of polio. It kind of dominated the summer, and parents were freaked out if the kid even got the sniffles.
But just a few months after Paul contracted the disease, Jonas Salk discovered a vaccine for polio. Today, Paul is one of the last living polio survivors who has such a bad case of paralysis that he still relies on a relic of that dark time. He can leave the device only for a few hours at a time with tremendous difficulty.
Paul's story is one of the harsh story of not having vaccine. Unfortunately, when he was that age, 6 years old, the vaccine came after 6 months since he contracted the polio, and he missed it. And he still lives in the iron lung. This must be the only iron lung which is functioning at the moment. And you can check this the whole video Gizmodo in the YouTube channel if you're interested in. Ramali, let's talk a little bit about polio.
Yeah, so it's been, I think it was in 1950s, it was a dreadful thing. So because the effect it caused, because paralysis, it can occur anywhere, and when it starts hitting the lung, you just can't breathe. So that's exactly why this gentleman is affected now. So polio itself, people think it goes straight into the nervous system. No, actually it is transmitted from, we call it fecal-oral route. So it goes into your gut, so into your intestine, and then gets into the bloodstream and gets into the nervous system, and which causes paralysis. And that's important because the types of vaccines when we talk about, there is a oral
Oral polio vaccine. Yeah, that's
and
right.
an injectable one.
Yeah.
So
The injectable one was invented by Jonas Salk, and
That's
the oral
correct.
one, Albert Sabin one.
that's history.
Both
yes.
from America.
Yes. So injectable one is the inactivated one. It is more effective, but in countries only when it is controlled. Whereas the oral polio vaccine is a live attenuated one. So in countries, especially the third world countries, and also where there are lots of conflicts, the children are still suffering from polio. Like I think there are 3 countries named, I think Afghanistan, Pakistan, and one of the African countries. Still it is there. But they make use of that vaccine to pass the immunity to others as well. That's because it's an oral vaccine. It will pass that immunity to others. So that's why it's important to use that in places where it is less well controlled.
Let's quickly talk about MMR, measles, mumps, rubella. These are all childhood vaccines.
Yes. So if you see the vaccine schedule here, you have there is a good schedule in this country, and all these vaccines are included. So MMR is three components there: measles, mumps, and rubella, and that can cause devastating effect if it's not treated or prevented early. Especially, it can cause meningitis, it can cause otitis media, it can cause pneumonia. So it's very important in childhood to combat this and stop this happening. So hence MMR vaccine is, but still you see cases coming into light, measles, mumps, and rubella.
But it prevents a lot of children not getting this illness, isn't it?
Yes.
That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are. Let's talk. There's a little bit of controversy. Let's touch upon it, and we'll go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we have to touch upon it because it's very important to get the trust of parents and the public to implement these programs. And if you don't have about 80 to 90% efficiency, it's difficult. So there was, unfortunately, in the 1990s, there was a paper published in one of the reputable journals to say that MMR vaccine may be associated with autistic spectrum disorder and some colitis. So when they hear these sort of things, mothers as parents, we get worried. And after that, for a few years, there was very low uptake of these vaccines, and suddenly you started seeing these cases going up. But later on, it was retracted and it was found not to be true. So that was an unfortunate period of time where the public, I don't know how to call it, whether misled, but it was retracted, and that is now, I can't say history, we still talk about it, but it's not shown.
We'll still talk about it. So don't forget, these vaccines are for you. You have to take it, and if the health officials say about it. Anyway, today we are talking about vaccines. It's an important program. So first off, we're going to talk about these basic vaccines, what we use for children. But in the second half, we're going to talk more about COVID-19 vaccine. This is a hot topic, and what kind of vaccines came first, and the childhood vaccine, there is a little bit left on that. And then the second half, we have planned to talk more about COVID vaccine. That's what you guys waiting to hear anxiously, we know that. But anyway, this is a live program, but today we are not going to take any calls because this is a really busy program. You could, of course, call us after we finish the program. We will be in the studio. We will be happy to answer all your calls. And if you have missed that, you could always, once we upload the YouTube video, Health Talk with Dr. Akram, you could always write down underneath and we'll answer all your questions. Okay, Ramali, let's go. Let's talk about this one. Pertussis or whooping cough. In 2008, 16 million children got infected. 195,000 children died from pertussis.
Yeah, so most of these viral diseases, it affects the children. As I told before, in the past, parents are dreading whether their children will reach teenage years. So thanks to these vaccines, actually it's combined as one vaccine, the 3 diphtheria,
DTP, yeah.
pertussis, and tetanus.
Tetanus.
So it can be given as one vaccine. So after that program, actually that is incorporated into vaccine schedule in all the countries, and we've seen the cases going down. And these cases you hear are in places where there is no proper vaccination program, or it's unable to reach those areas because of conflict and socioeconomic status. So it's sad, but that's why WHO has taken so many efforts because the funding and the developing countries and the developed countries contribute to that funding, and the WHO aim is to get to those areas and start vaccinating them. It's an unfortunate thing.
That's an unfortunate thing. It doesn't reach there.
Yes.
Especially in the West as well,
Yes.
there is certain parents, they don't like to give vaccines to their children. Isn't it?
Yeah.
And they also get affected with these things. And I have heard from one of my colleagues who work in a hospital, in the UK, a child was admitted with pertussis.
Yes,
And the parents did not give vaccine.
Yes. Time to time we see that.
You see that?
And I've seen tetanus here, one.
Yeah.
And so, but it's much less than it was before.
Exactly.
Just educating them and making sure that the vaccines reach.
Yeah. So in case if you're not towards vaccination, please read more. There are lots of stuff in the internet and NHS websites and lots of other websites. Please read more. And if you have any further question, you can always ask us. Okay, let's talk quickly a little bit about rabies, which is rare in this country, but especially in Africa, in Asia, which is still there, isn't it?
So rabies is caused by virus, and it is transmitted by most commonly dogs, but other animals as well. So when a rabid dog or a dog which has got rabies bites a human being, there is a chance or the patient or the person will get rabies. The thing with rabies is there is no cure. It's only prevention. Once you get rabies, you succumb, and there is no treatment for that. That's why it's important. Luckily, during the incubation period, there are vaccines available. And earlier it used to be 21 or 18 vaccine into your belly, but now fortunately that's been developed into 3, sometimes 5 or 7 doses. So it's changed, because now you rarely see people dying of rabies, but still we hear in certain countries. It's very sad because of 2 things. One is the dogs or the animals has to be immunized. That's one way of doing it. And patients don't get the vaccination, and they ignore sometimes.
Yeah. So, but even if if they had been bitten by a dog or bats as well, the other one.
Yes.
Immediately, it's advisable to take the vaccine immediately.
Exactly.
But even if you miss it, try to take it within short time, before the symptoms develop.
Yes, because if it depends on how severe, so you have to go to hospital, and they will assess whether, if it's severe, they will give what is known as antibody as well, human antibody, or sometimes horse, which is not available. If human antibodies are not available, they will have to get the horse antibodies or serum. And then follow on with the preventative vaccination.
Okay, let's watch a video. This is kindly provided by AstraZeneca. This is all about how they make the COVID-19 vaccine. Before we explain more about it, and let's watch this video. Thanks AstraZeneca for this important video. This is really useful for us.
Approaches to vaccine development to prime the body's immune response to COVID-19 include using weakened viruses or viral proteins, or using specific viral genetic code, either DNA or RNA directly, or creating viral vectors with specific viral genetic code. A COVID-19 adenoviral vector vaccine is an adenovirus vector based on a common cold that has been modified and inserted with the genetic material for the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein. Production starts with assembly of its genetic code. The adenovirus vector is engineered from adenovirus DNA by removing essential genes to stop it being able to replicate, so it can only act as a carrier and not cause disease. Adding the coronavirus spike protein DNA creates the full genetic sequence for the adenoviral vector vaccine. The genetic code is introduced into a producer cell, where it is transcribed and translated to form the COVID-19 adenoviral vector vaccine. The human cell line is engineered to contain the missing adenovirus genes, so that when the vector vaccine is introduced, it can infect the cells and use the cell machinery and missing viral genes to be able to replicate, producing identical copies. Vaccine molecules are also replicated with the division of the cells, and the process continues until the right concentration is reached. The addition of a chemical lyses the cells, bursting them open, and the vector vaccine is harvested, ready to be further tested, filtered and purified before being filled into vials.
That's a great video, kindly provided by AstraZeneca. That kind of explain what we're going to talk about, isn't it? Ramli, what is this flu vaccines, how they make it?
Okay, so flu is our every winter we are asked to vaccinate ourselves against this flu. Flu is basically a virus. It's called influenza. So influenza A, B are the common players here. So every year they actually predict what sort of strains are going to be. So this time we have a vaccine called quadrivalent vaccine, where it is protective against 2 subtypes of influenza A and 2 subtypes of influenza B. So they do all the hard work. We have to take the vaccine because of the COVID, it's been slightly sidelined. Otherwise, every year we have a number of deaths occurring because of flu. So the same sort of vulnerable people get it, like the COVID. So elderly with a lot of COVID comorbidities. The biggest difference is the children. So that's why in the vaccination schedule, 2 to 10 years and people over 65, I think people now over 50 are eligible to get the vaccine. And of course, the health workers, because of this flu, the productivity or the effect of the economy also has an impact. So if people are sick, so when there is a way to prevent these things, so most of the time it's effective, and at least 60-70% of the time it is. So I personally take it every year, and I feel I don't get it as much as I used to get it in the past.
That's a good thing you said who's supposed to take it. But if you're fit and healthy, do you still have to take a flu vaccine? Or is it your choice?
It's our choice, but it is better because if it's sometimes dreadful getting that flu, and then you have lots of body ache, especially your job, your work, and you might otherwise give it to your family. So it's contagious. So that's why it's important. And also,
but some people don't get flu at all, isn't it?
Yes.
For them, is it really important to take flu vaccine, or is
again, it's a personal choice.
It's personal choice.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very good. Okay. We talk about why we should take, because it can spread to the family, isn't it? Any controversies about flu vaccine? Are there, what's going on around?
Not as controversies, because as I said, it's done in a massive scale. So important groups are pregnant mothers should take
pregnant mothers.
Yeah, and children, and people with comorbidities, asthmatics, diabetes. Not controversies. I would say it's lack of understanding or knowledge. Because people with egg allergies, they have to be careful. because there is an egg-based protein there, so you have to be careful. But we are lucky in this country. There is alternative available which doesn't have egg, so the hospital can order it for you if you want, or the GP practice. So I think everyone should take it. That's my
After
message.
the vaccine, you can also get a small flu-like symptoms.
So there's no live virus. That's the important thing. It's an inactivated
It's an
virus.
inactivated.
Yes,
That's
so
a really good point you
yeah.
said.
So there's no live virus. So you won't get flu from the vaccine.
Right.
That you have to understand. What you get is the most common side effect is pain in the site, at the site of injection. 1 to 3 days. I had it just for 1 day. That's it. I went to work same day. No issues. Headache sometimes can get, muscle pain, and that's basically it. So myalgia, that is the worst thing, where you have like weakness and malaise, you call it, and body ache. But it will never give you a flu as such, because that's to prevent the flu.
So that's probably your body is working hard, isn't it? That's
Yes.
why you get these symptoms, isn't it?
Exactly.
Because body is concentrating on something else to produce this
So
ammunition.
There's no live vaccine there, so that's important thing.
Okay. The most important things, we're coming there now. Okay,
Yes.
let's talk about what's Putin saying about Sputnik V after the famous
Yes.
the program, and China is talking about it in the West.
Yeah. So I was looking forward to this, Akram, honestly, to talk about the COVID vaccine, because don't know whether you remember when we were at the height of pandemic, or even before it was affecting China and other parts of the world, people were talking about exit strategy, and they were saying only a vaccine can help us get out of this.
Out of it.
And how many years? Not even a year, and we are here. So that's a big achievement. Because when it hit in China, as far early as January, the Chinese authorities actually shared with the rest of the world the genetic code of the virus.
That's amazing.
That was the reason why others could work on it. And you know, we talked about the traditional types of vaccines. So these are the novel. So these vaccines are produced by working along in the genetic material of the virus.
Yeah.
So there are about nearly 200, 198 to be precise, vaccines are being worked.
The 198 vaccines are being researched.
Yes. But
exactly.
There are only a dozen of major players in the phase 3 trial. If I want to just quickly explain what are these, people talk about now, suddenly it's in public media, the phases, trials. So when a vaccine is developed, I'm talking pre-COVID, takes about 6, 7, 8 years from the time they start doing it in cell outside the body, human body, to be made or to finish the phase 3 trial. So first pre-trial, before the humans, they experimented on animals or some cells.
Cells or animals,
when they are successful, they go into what is known as phase 1 trial.
Phase 1 trial.
Phase 1 trial is only a handful of human beings are tested. And once that is successful, they look for side effects. They don't have placebo at that time. Then they go into phase 2 trial where hundreds of people. But to make it quicker, sometimes you can combine phase 1 and phase 2.
Phase 2.
Phase 3 is thousands of human volunteers undergoing these tests. So if you threw out numbers, now the one which Pfizer has made an announcement that it will be available if it passes the last hurdle, the regulatory approval, about 43,000 human volunteers have been tested.
43,000
but
people.
Not everyone got the COVID vaccine, because you have to give placebo as well.
Exactly.
So that's
they get the
water.
dummy vaccine, isn't it?
That's salt water.
Salt water.
Yeah, and the vaccine.
Yeah.
They don't know what they are getting.
The people who receive, they don't know. But people who give also don't know.
No, they don't know. So
they come in the same kind of vials.
Exactly. Everything is same. But the results are, the people who got, I don't know the microanalysis of that.
But they have probably a lot number or something, they can trace who got what.
Yes, oh, definitely.
Yeah.
They had COVID, the people who had the placebo, whereas people who had the proper vaccine did not develop. That was the groundbreaking.
And they said it's 99% effective or something.
90% effective.
90%
That's
effective.
because, again, so far, it's very difficult to get that efficiency.
Yeah.
So the one which has been advertised now, well, not advertised, made a big announcement to say that by early as mid-December, we might have a vaccine which is produced by Pfizer, which is an American vaccine, which is actually...
They're working with a German company as
exactly.
well. Yeah.
It's actually a code, a part of a gene or mRNA, we call it, from the virus, is taken out and introduced into the body. But the virus, the mRNA alone can't get into the body. When we get into a cell, you have to have some lipid material or fatty material.
Yeah.
So it's incorporated into a lipid material and sent into our body. The important thing is it will produce something like spike protein of the virus. So when the immune system sees this spike protein, it thinks it is the COVID protein. And start making antibodies.
So
it's not actually
it exactly
COVID
look like COVID protein, isn't
yes, so
that's
spike protein.
Yeah.
So that's a spike which is what we call it coronavirus.
Corona, yeah.
So then the body will start producing antibodies. So then the memory will be there. When the patient actually is exposed to the COVID, that will recognize it as the same virus and produce in mass numbers. So it's not a silver bullet yet because the duration, so we still don't know how long it will be protective for. So it might have to be taken as flu vaccine every year, and also the age group.
Age group, yeah.
So I don't know how many of these volunteers have been over 65s. So those things will be released, I think, later on. But where we were about in January or December, and now it's a massive achievement. And this is the only way I think we can come out of this.
That is a good news, isn't it? And even I think it was in August, Vladimir Putin advised about the Sputnik V.
Exactly.
That was the first vaccine to be announced.
Yeah.
And they started using in Russia, and he said his daughter has had it as well.
Yeah. So that's another method. mRNA is a very novel method, right? Whereas the one which is the AstraZeneca is making and the Russian vaccine vector adenovirus vector based. Vector is a vehicle to take that. So this virus.
So that's the Russian.
Yeah,
one.
and the
adenovirus
Oxford one.
vector. Yeah.
Yeah. So they will take a genetic material. You call it genetic modification, and put it into another virus like the AstraZeneca one is a very innocent chimpanzee virus.
That's right, a chimpanzee virus.
So that is incorporated into it and it's injected into the body. And once it's in the body, it will recognize it as a spike protein they'll start. So it's all these novel methods which amazing, we never thought will be. And the first time mRNA has been used this far as previously it's been used, but didn't make it this far. Well, didn't succeed. So this is the first time.
The technology has improved a lot.
Absolutely.
And they spend a huge amount of money on these vaccines.
Exactly.
And China has produced a lot of vaccines. I have heard in China now it's mandatory if they're going to travel abroad, they should have a vaccine.
Yes, and it is the prominent vaccine there is, I think, Sinovac. I think it is the good old traditional way, which is the inactivated complete
vaccine.
Virus.
Yeah.
So that's their way of doing that. I think one of the France companies also doing it. The whole virus has been inactivated. So they've taken the traditional route or the traditional way of tackling this.
Okay, let's summarize. There are different kinds of corona or COVID-19 vaccines there, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's what you said, the mRNA,
yeah.
The messenger RNA vaccine,
yeah.
which is the AstraZeneca one.
Yes. The Pfizer one.
Pfizer one.
The AstraZeneca one is the genetic modification of where they use a vector to get it.
Vector.
Yeah. So it's the could be a cold virus, which is an innocent one.
It's an innocent virus, and they put this genetic.
That's called genetic modification of the virus.
Of the virus.
But they will recognize when they start producing the spike protein as as the virus.
Yeah.
And then the good old traditional way of doing it, inactive or inactivated virus. So those are the main players in the world. So hopefully by December, they're already preparing in this country how to vaccinate, whom to vaccinate, and priority. Because in case we were asked to, okay, we've given the regulatory approval, they have to roll it out. So even before knowing, people, so it will be somewhere in selected areas. I think GP practices are going to be very busy. Hospital will have to identify a place where they can start vaccinating. So once we get the approval, so fingers crossed, wait and see.
So hopefully by Christmas.
Yes, that's what we are hearing in the news. I'm not. I don't have any inside information, but I read in the news.
Ramali, can I book my ski holidays in the Christmas time? Okay, will I get vaccine before that?
I think next year.
Next year.
Yes.
The
next year.
safe still is safe to book next year.
Fingers crossed.
We are still
Yes.
in the early phase.
Yeah,
of
because
vaccines,
this is not a replacement yet. I think it is a massive program to vaccinate. So starting from a high risk group, and anyone above 50 won't be unless they have any comorbidities. The priority will be to start from 90 plus, 80 plus, 70 plus.
Yeah.
And then
they're thinking about the care homes, isn't it?
yeah,
They're
care
going to
homes
start
definitely,
first, care homes,
and frontline
where they had more deaths, isn't it?
and health staff, frontline
Health staff,
workers.
frontline.
So that group, and then once it's going to be a massive.
And the other thing is, even though these vaccines coming, they don't have the capacity to produce this huge amount of vaccine for the whole world.
Exactly. So we are lucky. I'm hearing 40 million. So been ordered because one person needs to have 2 doses.
2 doses per person.
So 2 weeks apart.
Yeah.
So again, where we were before and now, this is the best news one
But
could have.
even though we have vaccines, we don't know how long this immunity going to last.
This is the
because
thing.
we are still in the
Yeah,
early trial phase, isn't it?
Something known as, once a vaccine is released, the trial carries on something known as post-marketing surveillance.
Post-marketing.
So they will have to keep an eye for years to see whether anything which they didn't get reported before, any other side effect, or how is the efficiency. So it will be followed on as like a trial for a few years, even after marketing.
I'm just wondering, will it be like a polio vaccine, like you had it and you're fine, you're safe?
No, I don't think. You might have to take repeated doses.
Might have to.
We don't know, because we don't know much about the duration of the immunity.
Because this corona also a bit clever
Yes.
virus, and it keeps changing.
Yes, although this is what we need to remember. We've had enough of corona, but corona will never have enough of us. We've had enough of corona.
We had enough of
But the virus will never get fed up with us.
It will keep attacking, isn't it?
Exactly.
But vaccine is not the end, isn't it? We still have to be careful.
Yes, we have to maintain that social distancing mask until we know exactly how long it's going to work, and the high risk groups have to take precautions. Yeah.
Maybe it's not yet ready to organize parties.
No, definitely not.
Because this is going to be something we could set down and we can have a nice Christmas, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I think to learn more about this vaccine, how it works, it will take some time.
Yeah, and there'll be more information coming out. Yeah.
Okay. Ramali, I think we are coming to the end of the program. Do you want to say any special message to our viewers?
Yeah, so it's a summary of my last discussion. So we are very grateful and we are lucky we are having this vaccine release. We never thought it will be earlier. We were told next year. But still, don't forget the basic hygiene principles. So make sure you keep social distancing, personal hygiene, and hopefully we'll have a completely new year to look forward to, and maybe even go on holidays. Let's hope so. Fingers crossed.
Thank you very much for being with our family. It's a really nice program. It was short, but now the lines will be open, so you could call us if you have any more further questions. But for time being, We talked about vaccines, and in the initial bit we touched about the basic vaccines, what is vaccine, and the childhood vaccines. Then the second half we mostly concentrate on the good news is the corona vaccine, or the COVID-19 vaccine. So good news is going to be out soon. It's been out in Russia and China for a while, but it's going to be out in the West as well. But anyway, until we see you in the next program, which is going to be anesthesia next week. So that's again a subject not many people don't know much about it, and they have lots of questions. Will I be awake during that operation? So anyway, to watch that, you have to be there next week at the same time on Iron TV or on our YouTube channel. But for today, thank you for staying with us on Iron Health Talk with Dr. Akram. If you have any further questions, please email us healthtalk@irntv.co.uk or message us on our dedicated YouTube channel Health Talk with Dr. Akram, or Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. And we will respond as soon as we can. But for now, goodbye and keep yourself safe.